Hello. The topic that I decided to do my project on here in business management is leadership. So we've talked about leadership all throughout our course, and that's something that I'm really big on and that I really like to focus on, not only in the workforce place, but also when it comes to school, when it comes to extracurricular activities, when it comes to volunteering, and also I work with a lot of youth. So my goal all the time is to kind of instill those leadership qualities and abilities into students, especially of lower income areas, because we don't quite get that all the time. So, as we've discussed in the course, leadership and management are two very important aspects that we have to have in a business. Um, we have to have them. They're two totally different things, and that's something new that I've learned this semester in this course is that they're totally different. When we think of management, we always think of leadership to kind of link with it, but we don't always have good management and we don't always have good leadership skills either. So when you can combine the both, you're getting like the best of both worlds. But management for us, as we've discussed, and the definition that I've gained from that has been someone who can assign tasks, can delegate anything that needs to be completed to workers or employees, and just say, "Hey, I need this done by this time or this date." Leadership to me is kind of putting yourself in that situation. So not only being able to delegate, but to also be able to be a part of it as well. So instead of saying, "Hey, you do this," it's more of a, "Okay, we can do this together. I'll work on this while you guys do this, that, and third." If that makes sense. Um, I'll be addressing 4 articles that I read that I submitted with my previous assignment, and those were really, really good articles that focus on leadership styles. One focuses on the gender differences among leadership style, which is very important in today's society, and also, of course, leadership in the workplace and how that works. Well, the first article that I would like to talk about is named An Assessment of Research Supervision, a leadership model enhancing current practices in business management. So, the purpose of this research project was to have final year students who were doing research have their supervisors and kind of see how effective their supervisors were for them and how that worked. So, what they kind of looked at were 5 different questions. So, according to the article, the first question was, how satisfied are students with their faculty research supervisors? How helpful is the research methods course to students during their final year project? To what degree are faculty supervisors available to students for assistance? How adequate is the feedback given by research project supervisors to their students? And how adequate are the resources and facilities for students' undergraduate projects? Um, so, of course, as we talked about, leadership is very important, but it's more important when your grade is dependent upon it. So, you really want to make sure that you have a good teacher or a good mentor who can guide you in the right direction. So, with that article, research supervision was defined as the highest level of teaching in the education system. And of course, when your grade is dependent upon it, it's very important. So they participated in research and they saw how effective teams and groups were. But what they got out of that research was that the students would like to have more qualified teachers or supervisors to help guide them and lead them in the correct direction. It wasn't that the supervisors that they had were not good. They just weren't as effective as what the students wanted them to be. So the next article that I would like to talk about is named Leadership Styles and Employees Motivation, Perspective from an Emerging Economy. So this article basically talked about how important leadership styles and motivation is in the workplace and for the employees. So we've talked about motivation as well, and in my organizational behavior class, we've also talked about how motivation can play a big part in how well employees do or do not do. So what I really want to talk about is learning how to be a leader, but also learning how to be a follower. So we can talk about the different leadership styles and the different types of ways people can lead, or even how a leader can influence their employees. But if you're a leader and you don't quite know how to follow, how can you be a leader? So that's something that I always question, especially with my players because I coach basketball. How are you able to lead someone where you don't know which direction to go, or you've never been in their shoes to follow? So the different types of leadership styles that they listed in their article was autocratic, which highly emphasizes on performance and doesn't focus too much on the people. So in this case, the people or the employees are looking more towards the leader for direction. So it's like, okay, I'm looking to you for you to tell me what to do. It's all on you. You tell us what to do. So kind of more so in my mind like a dictatorship. And then we have the democratic leadership style that they talked about, which focuses more on people and group interaction. And the leader is more so a part of the team instead of being like the head of the team. So it's kind of like a we situation, like we can do this, we're going to do it together versus, okay, I need you to do this. I need group 2 to do this. I need group 3 to do this. And I'll just watch you guys do this until you finish. So I thought that was a really, really, really great strategy to look at when it comes to different leadership styles in the workplace. And in my opinion, leadership style correlates positively with employee motivation. So depending on how upon you lead depends on how motivated your workers may be. So every person is different, so you have to think about that while you're leading. So the third article that I would like to address is called The Performance and Leadership Style. When do leaders and followers disagree? So this basically talked about how the team performance influenced the transformational leadership. So we talked about how individually you can kind of influence motivation amongst your workers or employees. So this is more focusing on like a team setting. So they also talked about the different leadership styles. But for example, for me, coming from this article, a main point that I grasped from it was that you have different workers. Everyone is different, everybody learns different, and everybody follows different. So I can't be directive to everyone because everyone may not be receptive to that. So I have to think and actually sit down and say, hey, I have this employee who is this way and works well when I address them this way. I have this employee who works this way and they work well when I address them this way. And I think when you get that personality or when you're personable, they respond a lot better than you just treating them as a whole and as a group as if you're going to get the same response from everyone, which you probably won't. Being a high school basketball assistant coach, I've learned that I can't always address each player the same way. So I have to take different approaches to addressing people. I may be able to fuss at one player and they get their act together, but I may have one player who I have to pull aside and say, hey, you're doing a good job, but I need you to fix this, or I need you to do better at this, and kind of weigh the positive and negatives and not just like bash out like, hey, you're not doing this right. So I definitely think that's how it also works in the workplace, or any other place that you're working at or working with. Everyone's different, so you really have to think about that. And the last article that I really enjoyed is the leadership styles of women and men. So in today's society, we've had like an epidemic of women getting in these leadership roles, in these STEM careers, and all these careers that in the past we didn't think that women could hold positions in, or who were technically good at because they were women. So I think to see a woman, and especially a black woman in a leadership role is very encouraging. And you also want to see like amongst the differences, we have those stereotypes that we're used to that have been around for years. Women can't lead. Men are head of household. The men are the breadwinners. And that's all fine if that's something that you believe in. But to have those equal rights is really nice, even though we don't technically have those, even equal pay. But these were some differences amongst in the article that I found really, really interesting. So they had the agenic characteristics, which were ascribed more strongly to men than women, and quote unquote describe primarily an assertive, controlling, and confident tendency. For example, aggressive, ambitious, dominant, forceful, independent, daring, self confident, and competitive. So these were all characteristics that this article used to define men and how men are displayed and how men are viewed when it comes to leadership roles in the workplace. And then we have in employment settings, agenic behaviors might include speaking assertively, competing for attention, influencing others, initiating activity directed to assigned tasks, and making problem focused suggestions. So, in a roundabout way, it's just saying, hey, men are forceful, they're here, they can get the job done, and end of story. And then we go to the communal characteristics, which are ascribed more strongly towards women than men. Describe primarily a concern with the welfare of other people, for example, affectionate, helpful, kind, sympathetic, interpersonally, sensitive, nurturing, and gentle. In employment settings, communal behaviors might include speaking tentatively, not drawing attention to oneself, accepting others' direction, supporting and soothing others, and contributing to the solution of relational and interpersonal problems. So, I just explained what you would expect like a mom to be, right? So, not that that's a bad thing, but in our society today, some people have not been able to shift their view or their thoughts around the fact that women can be what the men are described as, that agenic characteristic with being strong and forceful and being able to get things done on their own without the help of a man. And it can be vice versa. A man can be sympathetic, a man can be kind, a man can be nurturing. Although in our nature, women are naturally nurturing, we also want to look at what women have done in the past and what they're able to do and what they can do even in the future. So with that being said, yes, so I really just completed everything. Leadership style is very important when it comes to the workplace, when it comes to volunteering, or any aspect just in life, period. We want to be able to possess those leadership characteristics and styles so that when we do get into the workplace or the workforce, that we're not blindsided like, hey, well, I thought this would work for a whole group of people, just one approach. So being able to display those different styles and learning styles and teaching styles, and just being able to accommodate any and everybody that you work with or work for, I think are really, really great characteristics for a great worker. And it keeps the team motivated to know that, hey, I'm willing to learn, or I'm willing to figure out what I need to do next in order to accommodate my employees or employers, or even coworkers. So I really enjoyed this. So thank you.